Morning, Mark. I just said to Mark Dolan, who isn't normally here in the morning, that we talk about this a lot, don't we, in this time slot? And I think our viewers are utterly exasperated by this story. Is there any good news, Mark? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
Sadly, no, there's no good news, really. Just a better understanding, I think, about what this policy is going to cost the UK taxpayer. Now, we'd already known that 290 million in upfront costs had already been paid by the British government for the Rwanda partnership. So it's not just about the accommodation of these asylum seekers in Rwanda. It's also about investing in Rwanda, in its economy, in its development. And that was going to cost 290 million initially. But the government acknowledged there would be many millions more that would be paid over the lifetime of this scheme. Now the National Audit Office have very kindly given us their estimate of a breakdown of what the figures are likely to be, and they put it at around about £500 million a year. So that clearly is very significant. People have extrapolated and said that, you know, if 300 migrants go, then that's going to be about 2 million or so per migrant. I'm not sure that's particularly helpful or accurate in terms of the scheme itself, because you've got to, if you look at the individual migrants, I think we're giving 170,000 per asylum seeker that goes to Rwanda. Now that's a lot, there's no doubt, but it's not much different to what we would be paying here in the UK to keep them in hotel accommodation for a year and all of the wraparound services that they would have. So the scheme itself, the overall scheme, is very expensive.
Well, yes, I mean,
per migrant going, it's roughly equivalent to what it is in the UK.
Mark White, I'm going to go out there on this one. I'm going to say that actually, if it works, the Rwanda scheme can be as expensive as it wants. If it costs £1 billion to make it happen, then I say bring it on. But the question is the case, the argument that if Rwanda happens, it will be a strong disincentive, is that still convincing?
Well, it might be if it ever comes off. I think they'll love you at Marsham Street, Mark, in terms of James Cleverly. He really has been up against it since he left the Foreign Office and went to the Home Office brief. It has been absolutely relentless, the hammering that the Home Office has been getting in recent weeks. And that is, you know, in terms of the sort of what they say is this kind of disincentive to come to the UK is the bigger picture that they say is getting lost in just talking about £500 million, as big a price as that is, because the government's plan is that once people, if they ever start going to Rwanda, start going there, they believe that will deter people from crossing the English Channel. And if they can stop a few thousand people from crossing the English Channel, then that's clearly going to impact the cost of housing and all of these wraparound services for those asylum seekers.
But Mark White,
should they have made it here, they say, yes.
You're one of the key experts on this subject. Are you convinced that if Rwanda happens, it will stop the boats? Do you think it will be a disincentive?
I think if Rwanda had happened in April of 2022, when Boris Johnson first announced the policy, it would have been a deterrent. There's no doubt. I went across to France and there were lots of migrants across there who were very concerned about what that would mean for them. Because it's dragged on so long, now they just don't take it seriously. They think it's a bit of a laughing stock. And unless the government commits to actually putting very significant numbers of people that come across the channel to Rwanda, then I don't think the policy will act as a deterrent, because people will just take the risk. There's a calculation there. If they're only going to send 2,000 or 3,000 people, yet in a year 30, 40, 50,000 people might cross the channel, the chances of you actually being sent are relatively small, and perhaps for them worth the risk.
Mark, can you just break down this £11,000 per flight? Is that involving, I guess, security, etc., for these passengers?
Yes, I mean, it seems a lot, and it is a lot. But the truth of it is, they're not sending them on EasyJet or Ryanair at a nice discounted price. They've got to charter private aircraft and provide all the wraparound security that that aircraft will require to take, potentially dozens, maybe 100 or more asylum seekers at a time on these flights. So they're quite complex in nature to manage. They need the extra security there as well. So that's why you're talking about 11,000 per ticket. But that 11,000 per ticket is minuscule, really, in the overall cost of the Rwanda policy.
Of course.